highly emotional for them. You could argue there's more at stake for us in terms of the season, because a greater chance of them getting to a semis if they just pick up a couple of points. It will be, as I said, post the Leicester game, like fever pitch emotionally. It kind of signifies, I guess, the end of an era to a degree, given the players that are moving on from them who've been stalwarts over the last 15 years. And that can affect you a couple of ways, too much emotion. You can over-egg it and overreach sometimes. But they're not that kind of a team, are they? I think, on all the big occasions that they've played this year, they've played the best rugby, and the emotion's been the highest. The big game, or the one at Tottenham, being the prime example of that. I think they'll lean into it. These lads, and they'll want to put a performance out there that's worthy of the appreciation of those lads who are moving on.
So where does it sit in terms of your emotional build-up? Do you build them up right at the start of the week, or do you just try and say, look, there's going to be a lot of noise around this, we've got to be totally focused on us? You've got to be aware of these things that are happening.
Yeah, so we gave mention to it yesterday. That was the start of our week. Gave mention to the kind of occasion it could be and how it could feel and how it's going to feel in terms of energy, intensity. It's a test match intensity, I imagine, and physicality and energy. So you give mention to that, so there's an awareness there, and then, like you've said, you start to turn the focus and the lens towards yourself, without getting too emotional and talking too much about mentality too early on in the week. So looking to build that as you progressively get towards the end of the week and narrow the detail down. So it's some of it, all of it's planned, right, in terms of language and meeting structures, messages, and then what we follow up to do on the field. Some part of it has to be taken on field as well. So there's a lot of check-ins with the game drivers, the leaders groups, senior players groups. There are a lot of little meetings this week to make sure that it feels right, and then you can adjust your messages and training to suit.
It's funny for me. Someone who seemed to have got that right last week in terms of the way he uses emotion was Manu. He seemed to really pitch it correctly. Would that be right?
Well, there's a prime example, isn't there, of a real quality player who we made a bit of a fuss over last week. Last week, we say goodbye to all our players in like a timely fashion where we're able to do it properly. And there was tears, from a few people. And he spoke really well, spoke very emotionally, very honestly, and I'm sure the lads carried that onto the field in terms of the performance. And at times, probably, Chris, it did make us overreach. There was quite a lot of turnovers there and forced offloads, which with the number of them occurring in all facets of the game, which it did, bit of kick-in, bit of offloads which weren't on, and some breakdown work. If that's across the board and across everyone, which it was, then emotionally, you probably haven't got it quite right in that sweet spot. And that's not everyone, but certainly it wasn't Manu. He got it right, but that kind of ability to channel your emotion is what the best players do, which is why I'm saying Saracens will, and they'll do it well.
Excellent. Thank you, Alex.
Thanks, mate.
Hello, Alex. Nick here.
Hi, Nick.
3 more years.
Yeah. Surprise to you, maybe. No news to you. Not. It wasn't really to me. It's not news in
Why
us.
did the contract sit in your drawer for so long? Were there things to consider, or was it a simple decision?
No, it wasn't. It was just purely not getting round to doing it, and then not getting round to not signing it. At the beginning, I wanted to ensure that the club was stable in in terms of the coaching group, and we were going to spend to cap, and that we had the resources. And the ways I could do that is use my own contract as leverage. So, do you see what I mean? So like that was a year ago though. I've never been through my career and not signed a year in advance of my contract coming up. But I didn't advertise that I was on the market. That's why I am assuming that there was no other offers. Kept it quiet, and I just signed it a few weeks ago, and I think they saw the opportunity last home game to announce it, and it was not the reception I got was really nice, and I keep getting people texting me saying like congrats and stuff, but it's old news for me.
What did you look to lever on the back of the contract? Can you tell us generally what kind of assurances and where you were looking for?
Well, some of it was in conversation with Si and Jed and Michelle, and making sure that they emotionally and financially were going to back the team and the organisation with the resources that we needed. They are, and I knew that a while ago. But the other part of it was making sure that all the coaches, the coaching team, was signed up and happy with their contracts. It was something that I experienced in my tenure the old organisation, and it was quite a powerful tool to galvanise a coaching group to make sure that we're all on board together and people weren't having their own separate individual negotiations that circumnavigates, I guess, the communication lines and coaching hierarchy. And I wouldn't want to go out there and sign my contract, make sure I was all right, and then be insecure about theirs. Do you know what I mean? Like we're a coaching team. So for me, it's important that I treated them as I was treated in the past, which I felt was the right way to do it.
Yeah. Have you offered Sam James a big contract to change his mind and stay? Jeez,
he was good, wasn't he? It's funny you should say that, because Simon Orange was down at training today and he mentioned it again. Look, we've been back to him 2 or 3 times in the course of this, and we kept saying, look, we need to move, we need to make sure we've got enough players in each position, and he was adamant he wanted this adventure and he wanted to go, and he has had a few offers that will enable him to do that, go and experience rugby in a different country.
I don't even know whether you get a vote, but who's been your player of the season?
George Ford. He's been magnificent. There's been so many good lads, don't get me wrong, like Ben Curry's been outstanding as a leader, and Bev's come through really well. Manu's playing out of his skin, although he missed the first half of the season. I could go on, but George, particularly how he came back from the Six Nations and driven the group and taken so much on himself, how he's shifted our attacking mentality as he did with England. He's been pivotal in the recent form of this of our team, and I think internationally as well. I've been mightily impressed by him. And he's tackling people, isn't he? He's banging people. He's tackling, like really tackling. So like he's got it all at the moment, George. Yeah.
Great.
All right. Thanks, Nick. Didn't need that last bit. You admit that.
Sorry.
No, you're all right. No, you didn't need it. You didn't need it.
Al, can I just ask you, it's been a bit of a roller coaster of a season. First, 8th, 4th. Have you now found a bit of stability, you think, as you run in towards this part of the season?
We've definitely found form, haven't we? Consistency in terms of playing squad. Yeah, and that always helps with form, because it's cohesion. Cohesion's king. I repeat myself. It's been a brilliant season. Like, and I'm not talking because of outcomes, because there's so much to do still. But I've just loved the ride I've been on with these boys again. Not easy, like far from easy. Aging and stressful, and fucking, you've really got to look in within yourself. You've really got to dig down and understand, like, are you getting what you want out of yourself and the players and them too also? But we could have splintered at Christmas. We could have fragmented. And we didn't. We've come together and we've found a better form than where we've been in the last 3 years. That is, as I said last week, more rewarding than anything as a coach, to be able to be part of a group that finds itself again.
You just mentioned the season there, and I'm a bit conflicted on this because I'd love to see a league with 12, maybe even 14 teams if we can ever get to that stage. But you can't deny that with 10 teams this year and the condensed nature of it, the fact that we're going into the final round and there's still 7 teams with something to play for, it's obviously had a massive impact. Where are you on this? Are you happy staying long term with 10, or how do you see it?
I am happy staying long term with 10. Still, and I'll tell you for why, because it obviously increases the ability of the player pool that you're able to pull from. And then we've seen that, that's transferred into Europe, hasn't it? You know, with stronger squads, people are able to compete better against the best teams in Europe. There's more money, I guess, and that's all important, isn't it? To the survival of the game, still not sustainable, but 10 teams means a larger share of the pot. It also means that you're getting more of your internationals back, which the neutral supporter wants to watch. So there's more, in theory, there should be more attendance for your home games because you get your better players playing. So for all those reasons, I think it's great. What it does do is it means you miss a couple of home games. So if we can negotiate or negate that by maybe exhibition games in those Six Nations periods and the autumn internationals, then you might get best of both worlds. You still get your home games, you get your best players playing in the Prem, and we can compete more vigorously in Europe.
And just finally from me, look, you basically got a must-win game this weekend at Saracens.
Yeah.
What is the biggest thing that you have to get right that's a non-negotiable to win at the StoneX in a game like this?
Well, that's the goal. That's the £1 million question, isn't it, for any coach? If you can thin slice roughly 30 gigs of information, because it's 10 gigs a game, so figure that out. Like there's 3 coaches watching 5 or 6 hours of analysis. No, 5 coaches. And then coming up with 2 to 3 points per area at the start of the week, thin slicing that down to one thing on a Thursday to go into the game with is key. So I don't think I can do that this week, because if you try and just put it down to one thing, they'll get you with another. They have the ability to win the game, like Bath do, in a variety of different ways. But they will, if we throw something at them, they will respond. They're a smart team, and they're able to, again, like change and shift the game model, game plan, to find a way to be competitive and then ultimately dominant if you don't shift and respond in kind. So if I was to say anything this week, and you know, this is quite a loose term because how you respond can be in a variety of different ways. But our ability to respond on lightning bolts that they throw, on things that we haven't foreseen that might not go our way, and respond with clarity and a calmness and a coolness of decision making, aligned with a ruthless physicality, because you've got to be ruthless, like physicality, just not reckless physicality that leads to penalties, but like a ruthless physicality will give us the best chance of getting through to the semis. So responses, good responses. There's one thing in 2 words.
Cheers, Al.
Thank you.
Al, could I jump in really quickly?
Yeah.
With one on Mako and Billy, they've been announced as leaving Saracens today. As Mark McCall's just called them 2 of the keenest rugby minds and one player that he's sort of come across as somebody that's would have been a big part of their development. Is that something you agree with, and how did that come across?
Yeah, I haven't heard his comments. I'll just take you back. I coached Mako when he was 17 at school. That was my second kind of coaching rugby gig I got after the Reds. I went to Eddie Jones with the Reds, baptism of fire, came back, worked for the RFU and coached England under 18s. And Mako was in that squad, and he couldn't do a backward roly-poly at the time. It was my missus still remembers it. This is like 20 years ago, obviously, and I'm showing, like, have a look at this kid. Like, he can't do a backward roly-poly, but geez, could he play rugby? Like, and he's out of shape, and he had grey hair at 17. I'm like, he's lost his passport, surely, because he's not 17. But he could play, like, and his outputs and his involvements in the game, even back then when he wasn't in great condition, showed his ability to read a game, to find the ball, to pop up in areas defensively where he had impact both sides of the ball. And that was back then. And then I met Billy. It's funny, innit, because I don't think of, like, the rugby acuteness when I think of them two. Like, I remember sat next to Billy after the Heineken Cup final that we lost against Toulon, and he was inconsolable. And it's things like that that kind of bind you to players. Sorry. We had a fight on a piss-up in a bar in Croatia. A bit of a fight. He threw a cork at me, hit me in the eye. He was pissed. I don't think he's drunk since then. And when I left, he sent me a letter apologising. That was 10 years after. Apologising for that incident, which I'd buried, the day after. So, rugby-wise, yeah, brilliant players. Men, none better. None better blokes. Really fortunate to have known them.
That's all. Thanks very much.
Cheers, mate.
Afternoon, Al. Manu's been in brilliant form since the Six Nations break. It probably is best run in a sales shirt. There's been all this talk for the last couple of years about managing him and making sure he's in the best shape possible for the World Cup. Does it feel like the shackles are now off and he's able to perhaps not have to think about a World Cup in 18 months' time and just concentrate on the here and now and just go full throttle into games?
Yeah, he's playing free, isn't he? The shackles are always off with Manu, like they're always off. But he's just finding himself on the ball, isn't he? Like, loads, wanting it, popping up in the right places, and he's still got that kind of trademark, devilish, almost hysterical grin when he runs onto the field. Like, he can see he's loving it. He's loving every moment. He's feeling every moment. That's when it's its best, Manu. I just need to make sure that he's going into this game in that kind of same energetic charisma that takes people with him, that makes it, that takes away the gravitas of the outcome. He has that about him at the moment. One of his favourite expressions is like, we've only got this moment. That's how he gets you to stay out. When you got to go home and you've had 2 or 3 glasses of wine with him, he's like, we've only got this moment, Al. And he makes you believe it. That's the kind of personality that he's driving in training on the field at the moment, and it's coming out in his game. He's truly playing free at the moment. We'll need that again Saturday.
He got a great reception as he came off, as did Kobus. The way I describe Kobus is a real unsung hero. Doesn't necessarily get all the credit externally, but he's going to leave a big void, isn't he, in the summer? Yeah,
massive. Like, I think we had, like I said, we're saying goodbye to him last Friday. We had the physio and head of medical, Nav Shendu, a great fella, Nav. And Nav's probably spent more time with Manu than anyone over the last 5 years, certainly at the start, right? So that's why we got him to speak. And he described like a scenario that would probably happen in Bayonne, where post-game, Manu will be sat there in the corner of the piazza, or whatever they call it, the square, having a game of chess with some of the old guys that were in the local cafe, drinking a glass of wine, and everyone's going to know him. And there'll be his kids running feral, as they do, around him. And it's very easy to see that him being the centre of not the centre, but a very important person in the town down there, and being able to integrate himself within the culture, because that's what he is here. And we cannot replace him as an individual. We have to try and fill the void on the field, and we've got some good players to do that, but we can't replace him as the person he's off it. All we can do is kind of honour and show our appreciation for the kind of person he was by continuing some of the things that he's made us more aware of. The time that he has for people, like everyone, like from kit man to 18-year-old to 32-year-old professional, he's got time for you. The way he greets you, the way he greets you when you come in the morning, and the general warmth that emanates from him. Like, if we continue to carry on some of those kind of values, then he's never truly left us, you know. And I know it's a bit schmaltzy and all that, but we talked in that tones, and I believe in it. Like, his impact will continue in this organisation within these walls, far beyond his contract that he served.
The customary injury update question: any fresh knocks picked up from the weekend, and then a few guys who didn't play on Friday? So I'm thinking Luke Cowan-Dickey, Josh Beaumont, Joe Carpenter. What's the latest? Which were injuries and which were rested?
Yeah, Luke wasn't so well at the start of the week, and because we've got such good hookers, and we have where we've got strength and depth, if you don't train, you don't play. So Luke didn't train at the start, didn't play. He's up for selection this week. Bo thought we could turn him around. He's probably going to need an operation, Bo, on the last remaining bit of a ligament that he's got in his foot. So unlikely, he won't be selected for this weekend. We had a decent replacement, didn't we, in hiring, some good recruitment there over the course of those Six Nations, pat in the back. So that's them two. Everyone else just bumps and bruises, just managing that. No injuries.
Joe Carpenter?
Yeah, no, he's up for selection.
Just one finally, you mentioned Hiram there, had a great game on Friday. Saw some fans comparing him to Bryn Evans, who was a great player for a number of years for the club. You mentioned, I asked a few weeks back about whether he could be an option into next season. Obviously, he's in as an injury replacement at the moment. Is there the cap space to potentially keep him on? Because he seems to be doing pretty well. Yeah,
it's something we're looking into right now. We are in negotiations to... Maybe not the cap space, and some of it's intertwined with Tom Curry, and others. It's such a moving, complicated jigsaw puzzle. But there may be some injury dispensation there for one of our lads who had a heart operation this year. So we're seeing if it fits and if it's enough for him.
Cheers, Al. Thank you.
Thank you, Kieran.
Hi, Alex. John here.
Hi, John. You all right?
Can I just go back briefly, Al, to Sam James? Can you sort of give us a feel for what an asset he is for a coach to have in his squad, and also perhaps how you viewed him previously when you were at Saracens?
Just in Manu. Sam, getting back to Sam, sorry. I reviewed him at Saracens, like underrated. International quality outside centre, ridiculous skill set. Don't give him the time and space, because he can come up with something from nothing, which you saw at the weekend. Triple threat in terms of passing, running, kicking, which we saw at the weekend. And, in the past, consistently in terms of defensively, like maybe not the strongest in that area, in that one small area. I think he's got better. He's worked really hard on that these last couple of years. And then coming in here, and then like with most of them, and he's an absolute legend of a bloke. He's always the first person to whip people up into a frenzy over a beer. There's I won't go into the blue aspect of how I remember him, because he doesn't mind getting naked, Sam, but I'll leave it at that for obvious reasons. He is really talented at everything. I think I mentioned that last week, like table tennis, football, everything. Like, he's really talented, annoyingly good. So you get the talent on the field, and you get the bloke off the field, and he's been in all his life, you know, through all the evolutionary changes that the club's been through. He's been through it all. So you could say that, you know, I did tell him that he's the heartbeat of this place. I'll always be welcome back, and you know, like I say, I'll chase him up again on Sunday to see if he thinks he's made a mistake in not signing the contract that we offered him.
Great, so thanks, Al.
Thank you very much.
Al, leaving here, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks.